think the thing I'm gonna miss the most is like this beautiful epic wall. I've literally taken photos of it to see if I can recreate it. Or maybe it's the chair that I like because I can totally like curl up in it and move around and I don't sit still little anyway, so being able to be in something that I can knock my videos in and be comfy in is huge. Though I will tell you, I am reminded that my body doesn't always do what it's supposed to. And I am definitely not 21 anymore. Um, and I keep saying I'm not 21 anymore, and I think really I need to say I'm not 30 anymore, but I'm just not willing to admit that yet. So, okay, thanks. I saw a meme the other day where my mind thinks I'm still like 27, 28. My humor is that of a 12-year-old boy, and somehow my body thinks it's 70. Accurate. All right, it's Friday. It's time to go home. My wife is headed down here to come scoop me up because I have no vehicle. I did not want the possibility of jumping in my car and escaping, so I wanted to make sure that I, for lack of a better phrase, trapped myself here. Because I'm really good at running. I'm really good at getting out of shit. And if I'm gonna heal, I can't do that. That's just not an option. So, I have done a video diary multiple times a day, every day, which I'm proud of because I don't always know if what I'm saying is useful, but because this was truly for me to process, we'll see. The rules of engagement, I wrote them down because if I don't write them down, I don't remember them. The rules of engagement were grace, love. In capital letters, I wrote no goal expectation. I did write down that I was allowed to work for 1 hour per day and 4 hours of writing per day. Get out of house. So remember the part where I work in extremes. And that I needed to make sure that I worked out and I meditated. So the reason I wrote no goal expectations is that I am highly hell-bent on having goals and being able to smash them. That feels good to me. I like that. It is what's gotten me here. I feel like I should apologize for it, but you know what? I'm gonna start saving my apologies for things I actually mean. So no, I won't apologize for it. I originally set my goal that I would write a book in a week. I don't know if y'all have ever tried to write a book in a week, especially about your personal life. Nope. I take that back. Writing a book in a week, I am sure, is absolutely possible. It wasn't for me, and especially not for what I really hope to accomplish, which was peace. I told my wife on the phone last night that she married a unicorn that shot rainbows, and I'd like to give her back. Like, I'd like to be that unicorn again. I'd like to be the person that isn't scared of her own damn shadow. Because not only was I scared of my own shadow, but I was so busy being scared and judging my own shadow, like I didn't even have time to justify it. And justification gets in the way of being able to change anything. So if I couldn't even get to the point of justifying something, I couldn't even get to the point of like recognizing that I was screwing up. Fun little fact, by the way, and I'm fascinated with this. So your neurons, the things in your brain that have to have synapses to fire to recreate pathways, which is called neuroplasticity, you have to actually give cues for them to create new neurons and new firings, right? So if I say, that's not my fault, whether I say it aloud or internally, I have literally told my neuron, oh, you don't have to do any work today. Take the day off. It's fine. So it can't create a new pathway, right? But if I say, hey, here's the part that I screwed up on this is the part that I want to change, then the neuron in my brain says, oh, wait, all right, I'm going to go to work. And now I need to start firing, and it actually starts creating new pathways. So it really starts with accepting responsibility to start creating that change. Because sometimes we don't know what we need to change, and we don't know what that next right step is. All we can do is recognize what was our role in it, how is it that I don't want it to happen again, and go from there. Especially if you've been in a space of being a victim. Um, is it my fault that I was abused as a kid? Fuck no! Is it my fault that my parents got divorced? It was definitely a few therapy sessions, but no, I didn't. My parents didn't get divorced because I was such a bad kid that they couldn't handle me. And yes, that was an issue for a while. Both being a bad kid and thinking, but they weren't simultaneous. I, they got divorced because they shouldn't be together. And I'm very grateful because, to be honest, if they hadn't gotten divorced, I wouldn't have this kick-ass stepdad that I have. And that's a miracle in and of itself. And the fact that he still puts up with me, we'll just talk about the gratitude there, right? So, recognizing what has happened and what I won't allow to happen again is also accepting responsibility. So, there's this guy that talks about part of switching your mindset from being a victim is accepting full responsibility. So that's not to say that I'm blaming victims. Let me be very clear. But in my own personal case, yeah, I dated some douchebags. I continue to put myself in the places that got me put in shit. Me. Common denominator was me, myself, and I. All of us here. No one else did that. Nobody else put me in those places. Was it fair, the actions that happened? No. But can I make sure that I'm not in those spaces and that I make sure that I choose not to be around those people? Absolutely. Can I make sure that I put those boundaries in place? Yes. And by taking that responsibility, I immediately go from being a victim to looking at becoming a victor, becoming overcoming, being able to not continue to live there and now have my own choices and my own life back. Because in the age that is 2020, I mean, you can't get away from things like you used to. Mental health is such decline for a lot of people. Suicide rates are up this year because we can't get away from ourselves, because we can't get away from abuse as easily as we used to. And we have to find ways around it. And I believe that we can. I believe that there are options for that. So being able to give myself love and grace and being able to make sure that I'm not setting goals that I could fail, like writing a book in a whole fucking week. Guys, when I say I pick crazy goals, I told my therapist once that I worry about being crazy. And she said, what does that mean to me? And I said, well, there's certain types of crazy I don't mind. I think I could change the world. That I don't mind. And let me clarify, I don't think I'm going to change the world because I'm going to become this big name. I think that we all have the capacity to change the world in the ripple effect. Just one person at a time. Just by the person I meet on the street with a smile. I don't mean me by my name, by who I am. I just mean opening a door for somebody. That's it. Those things, I think, is what's going to change the world. And yeah, there's famine, and yeah, there's hunger, and yeah, there's ugly people in the world. Trust me, I've lived it, I've been there. But if I don't have hope, then why would you? Because if I've seen all that shit and I've lived through it, then what I have left is hope. And trust me, I got enough for all the naysayers that are out there. But I refuse to believe anything less. You can't change that. About me, at least. So, I probably did average about an hour of work a day. Um, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. And at the point that I didn't want to do it anymore, I just turned all my notifications off. There's a beautiful thing in my phone that actually lets me set what apps I want to use and which ones I don't. I check my email once a day. I turn on my text messages once a day. Like, I do all of it, and then I shut it all back down. It's really a beautiful way, and I will probably continue to do that moving forward, because it means that my phone is quiet. It means that my wife has a backdoor access on my phone to get a hold of me, and that's it. Because I lived in an era where you didn't have anybody get a hold of you until you came home, and that was when the sun went down, and that's when you were supposed to be home. There's a peace within that, and that's what I'm looking for. I probably did do more than 4 hours of writing in the last couple days, so I would say that I can list that as successful. I don't know that I wrote 4 hours per day, but maybe like an average across the days. I did print out my pages. I'm on page 73. I'm at 25,000 words, which means I'm not quite halfway there, but probably about somewhere between a quarter and a halfway through the book. Which feels good. That feels manageable. That means it's doable. And let's be really clear. I'm talking first draft. Like, ain't nobody gonna read this. Like, this is the draft that I am writing and spewing and just bleh. I remember seeing a guy on stage and he was like, I wrote a book in a weekend. And I'm like, that's awesome. That's great. That's so cool. Which is why I think it's possible for me to write a book in a week. I really want to go back to him now and be like, so when you say you wrote a book in a weekend, was that the first draft? Did you write multiple drafts? How many editors read it that weekend? When you say you wrote a book in a weekend, do you mean published? Like, I have questions. Sorry, I need to know how to manage my expectations here. Please. But reality is, I don't need his to manage mine. So, I'm gonna sit here with my coffee and be damn proud that I got out of the house every day and I either went for a walk or a bike ride. I didn't work out like I wanted to. Push-ups, sit-ups, the things that I know are good for me. But I did meditate every day, and I worked on this color mandala every day. Mandalas are my nemesis because I want to plan every piece out. And I want to sit down and do it all at once. Y'all, I don't have the mother-loving attention span to do a mandala all at once, so I will probably never do one again. But I will walk away from here with 75 pages done on my book and a beautiful piece of artwork. And I'll get to walk away with that. I'm pretty solid with that. Oh, and peace and joy in my heart. I mean, I guess those are cool things. So while I was drawing on the mandala this morning, I had a thought come across my mind. I've always loved the story of lotuses. So a lotus is grown through mud. It's a flower that can only exist by going through shit, right? And I think that's beautiful, and I think that's great, and I think a lot of people identify with that. I don't want to take that away. That's how it feels to me. Just meh. But I'll never forget watching the scene in a movie where the phoenix just crumbles. And like it's normal. Just crumbles to ashes. And then this fiery thing comes up and it's reborn. And it gets to do it all over again. That's what life really feels like to me. I don't feel like I've just gone through some shit and now I'm this beautiful little lotus. Like, yeah, there's some peace to that, and that's cool. I feel a little bit more like I've been torched. I've had to crumble to the lowest lows, and I've had to crumble to those lows not once, not twice, but a few times in my lifetime, and I'll probably have to do it again. And every time I crumble and every time I go through those ashes, I come out stronger and more fiery and more ready for this world than I was any other time. I like that idea so much more. I identify with that process so much more. I wonder if there's other legends out there or other areas out there that talk about that. There's another story that I absolutely identify with, and it's kind of been in the back of my head. And I'd like to look up the origin story and maybe dig in a little bit more for the history of it, because I'd like to put it at the very beginning of this book. But it's a Native American, indigenous story that has a grandfather speaking to his son and a grandfather speaking to his grandson, and his grandson says, I feel like I can't tell right from wrong. How do you make these decisions? And the grandfather says, well, you have two wolves that live inside you. Choose which one you feed. See, that hits home for me because I've always struggled with wondering if I'm my abusers. If I have drawn that to me because I am like them. And I have that fear because I think I am like them in some ways. I've done some shady ass shit, so yeah, I do have some things in common with them. But I am not them because I choose which wolf